Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kira Dent, and I have this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kira, and you guys, you are in for the best treat of your life, Consultant Takeover. That's right. Get ready. They are dropping some dynamite. Our consulting team is incredible, guys, and we are so blessed and so fortunate to have them sharing tips and tricks with you today. And as always, thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time on the Dental Team Podcast.
Dana, I'm so excited to be here with you. Oh my gosh. Okay, we have not recorded. We busted out a ton of recordings at once and then took a little break when I was on a little travel hiatus. And you were on a travel hiatus. You've been in offices, which for you guys who may not know, Dana is a traveling / virtual consultant in our company. So what that means is she travels some, but she does a ton of virtual stuff in our company, and it's awesome because we have so many virtual clients who just soak up so much time with Dana. But last month and in the recent weeks, we've been traveling at the same time, and it always makes me so giddy inside because I'm like, oh my gosh, Dana's on the road too, and you had some travel stuff, but I'm excited to be here with you today. I wanted to pick your brain on some things and really want to hear about your travel, of course, because you don't do it all the time. But how are you today, Dana? How's life? How's the world for you?
Doing good. I'm excited to be here. I know it's been a little bit. I was filling out my end of month stuff, and I was like, oh man, I didn't get my time with Tiff. So it's good to be back.
Oh, thank you. I do love these. Tell me first, because I love hearing about, and the world probably knows that I love in-person visits. Those are my jam. That's where I really shine. It's where I really thrive. I love connecting with people. So how were your visits? You've had a few in the last month or so, and you've got some more coming up, but how were your visits for you?
Really good. I'm like you. I'm a people person. I'm that connection person. And so
Yeah.
I love being able to connect virtually. And I do feel like there is still that ability to do it, but it's not like being in person.
I agree. I totally agree. And you do well. This is, I think, a reason why you are our traveling / virtual consultant, because you do really well connecting with people, even virtually. So like this, where we're video to video, you connect with people really easily there and really well. So kudos to you for that. Have you seen any recent trends that you're like, you know what, all of my offices in office or um, on virtual calls are really struggling with these pieces?
I think the biggest thing right now is just finding those efficiency hacks. I feel like a lot of my offices I've been with now for a while, and we've gotten really good systems in place and we've gotten really good protocols. And it's just hey, how can we just 1% better, 1% faster, 1% easier?
I
So
love
we really
that.
been kind of digging into that lately.
I love that. I love that. That's so smart because we do have so many clients that are with us for years, and it's amazing to watch them grow, to be with them through that growth, to help them grow, and you're growing up with them. But you get to those points where you're like, okay, we have systems. Now, how do we make those systems more efficient? How do we level up what we've already done so that we can continue to grow and continue to be here for our patients? That's my biggest piece with my clients who have been here for a long time. It's the things that you were doing 2 years ago when we started maybe aren't working anymore. And I think one of those things is something we're talking about today, where it's the things we were doing 2 years ago with our charts may not be enough for what today's world looks like. And I wanted to talk about paperless charts today. And I think when we mentioned this topic, you actually spurred my brain because I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. For me, I'm thinking paperless charts. I'm like, yeah, for sure. When you purchase a practice, there's still practices out there that have paper charts, which blows my mind, but they're there. I've seen them. I've walked into those offices recently. So I know they're there, but you're even well, okay, but what about the efficiency hack of just paper, streamlining all of the paper in the practice. So are we still doing paperwork when they walk through the door? Are we still doing consents? I was in an office last week that's still doing a paper signed consent. And I'm like, wait a second, we have Modento. What are we doing? So I think smashing those worlds. And I think, Dana, what are you seeing when you're in practices now for the paperless pieces? What are the biggest efficiency hacks that you're noticing that that people in our practices are really able to implement with that?
Yeah, sure. And it's funny because in person is when you really get to see that, right? Like
For
I can ask
sure.
about efficiency in virtual, but the second I walk in and I see all this paper laying around everywhere, I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And sticky
And
notes all over the
why?
computer. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So I think the biggest one that I still see is paper, like medical history
Yeah.
or patient paperwork. So that's
Yeah.
a big one that I still see a lot of practices. It's like, well, their charts are now in their software system and their notes are in their software system, and they're not hand filling out those charts, but there's still ways that they can definitely be more efficient and utilize the technology that they're also paying for already.
For sure. For sure. And I think there's the two spectrums, right? Because I do have, like I said, I have those practices that just purchased an older practice. They just inherited it, right? They purchased it, they inherited all these patients, they inherited all these paper charts. And so there's the scanning of that, which is on one level of thinking paperless practice. And then on the other level is walking in and seeing all of those paper treatment plans and the paper consent forms and all these follow-up notes, all these follow-up things all over the place, and really just streamlining that into your practice software. So you guys, there are add-on softwares that help a ton with that, but a lot of the softwares out there, the dental softwares themselves, are doing these things. So, Dentrix has the module. I think EagleSoft even has the module. Open Dental can do it. Like, I think they all can do it at some capacity, but then you've got your added on layered applications and programs like Modento or gosh, what else is there? There's Modento and Flex, and there's all kinds of different programs that you can use that are also doing other things for you. So when Dana says you're already paying for them, most of you are paying in outside companies. You're outsourced. You have outsourced your emails and your text confirmations and your newsletters and your patient like congratulations. You guys have mostly outsourced those pieces to a different software. So you've got an add-on software that pulls the information from your dental software and it sends these things to all of your patients. Those same programs typically this day and age will do a lot of that paperless stuff for you. So those health history forms, they can fill those out online. And something, Dana, that you said earlier was to have that up on your website, right? So to have that and just direct the patients to your website or put it in a welcome email or let them know. I even have a couple offices that are struggling to get that paperwork back. So I do hear from practices, right? They're like, yeah, it's all there, but like patients never do it. So we sit and do it with them by hand. So then my follow-up question and my push to them is, are the patients not doing it? Are we not being diligent in reminding them and making sure that it gets done? Because I can handhold you all day long and say you're not willing to make changes in your practice. But when I push on you and I say, well, we've got to get this done this way, that's when the changes happen. So, Dana, what kind of follow up do you feel like goes along with that? And what kind of reminders have you seen go out to make sure that the health histories get done? Because that's something I hear constantly.
Yeah, sure. And I think the biggest thing is set the expectation from the beginning, right? So if you're taking
Yeah.
that new patient call and your forms are all online, direct them to it and then give them a time frame in when you want them back, right? And not just,
Mm-hmm.
hey, as soon as possible or when you get a chance, right? Give them an actual time. Hey, in the next 3 days, I need you to get these in so I can be prepared for your visit and have everything ready, right?
Yeah.
So really set expectations from the beginning. And then I say, whenever you're doing your like verifying your insurance or your appointment audit, right? Or your confirmations, pick one of those things. And then that's when you look to see, hey, do I have everything that I need
Yeah.
for that visit? Did that patient get that back to me? And then if not, then I'm reaching out to the patient. And it's just a reminder of, hey, we really do need that before your visit.
I love that. I love that. Good. Okay. Awesome. And I have an office too that last week was like, they're just not getting it back. And I said, great, text them the link. I'm the person, you guys, I'm putting this out there to the world. I am the person that I make everything for because I'm the person that will not do the thing that I said I was going to do if you don't have me do it right then and there, or you don't give me that deadline that Dana was talking about. If you're just like, hey, I need paperwork, I'm like, fantastic. And then as soon as we hang up, it's literally deleted from my brain. Like, it's not that I intentionally don't do it. It's that I will never remember to do it unless you send it to me and then remind me, or, congratulate me for getting it done so that next time I do it, like, I don't even know how to handle me, but I am your patient that, like, I'm the patient avatar. So I create systems for my practices all the time based around what my experience would be, because I know I'm that person. So I had them start just texting the link, and then on the phone even, "Hey, did you get that link? I just sent it over to you. Did you receive that link? Were you able to open it?" So now they know how they've got it, they've confirmed it, they know how to do it. I'm like, "Fantastic. I can't wait to have that back by Friday. Will that date still work for you?" And so we're confirming it, and I think Dana, you said confirm it, and I think one of those pieces, right, is having them, like, say it back to you, like, "Yeah, absolutely." So we're asking for it, but we're saying, "Does that work for you? Can you make that happen?" Now we've got commitment on it. So going paperless can be, I feel like it can be, like, a daunting task because there's so many unknowns in the world, and anything that we feel like is too big to comprehend, anything that we feel like is too large and too many pieces and too many unknowns, we actually innately will, like, steer clear of it. We'll say, "Well, I'll figure this out. I'll figure it out," and we, like, table it to the "I'll figure it out" table. But then we're over here doing this busy work of things that aren't adding up to a big result. This paperless piece right here adds up to a big result because you're going to get time back. You're going to save paper. We're going to save trees, right? You're going to save money. Okay, it's a little bit, but your overhead will go down because you're not buying as much paper. And these programs can do all of these things, and your systems can do all of these things. So pieces that I think you could work on going paperless right now, like maybe make yourself a note that by end of first quarter next year, like, I'm going to be paperless on these aspects. And you can do your treatment plans. A lot of them will deliver the treatment plan to an iPad. You review it on an iPad, they sign it, and then guess what? It emails you and the patient a copy of that signed treatment plan, encrypted, of course. So you can do a treatment plan. You can do your health histories, obviously. Another one that I think people forget about, you do your health histories, but you don't do your health history updates. So are you making your patients redo the whole health history, which is typically like 3 to 6 pages, right? Or are we once a year updating our health history, and is that in there? So if you are paperless, you're like, "Tiff, I already do this. Dina, what are you talking about? I already have my health histories in there." Well, do we have our updates? Do we have our HIPAA forms able to be updated? Our financial policies able to be updated? And then consent forms. That one seems to be like a daunting thing where practices are like, "It's in there. We just don't use it." I'm like, "Come on, just use it. Just get it done." And then Dana, for a practice that is charted, like, I'm a new doctor. I just bought a practice. It seems like California, I have so many doctors out there that's like, California loves these freaking paper charts. So, like, they buy a practice and they've got just these giant file cabinets. And I have actually an oral surgery practice that I cannot get off paper charts in Georgia. And I hope they're listening. They know exactly what I'm talking about. I love you guys to death. But these paper charts, they've got all of these files everywhere. Like, how do you suggest they take care of those? Because that can be daunting, especially for a new owner. And especially because our new owners are entrepreneurial and they're like, save the trees, and they hate seeing the paper. So what do you suggest for that?
I think start with, right, new patients moving forward, right? Any new
Yeah.
patient that's coming to the practice, let's make sure we start with them and we don't start a paper chart, right? We start it in our software system. And then I think it's adding those patients into the system that are on paper charts. And I think just figure out how many you think you can do each day, right? Set a goal for team members and just roll through them and get them in. And then just, storage, right? Because you have to hold on to those for X amount of times, depending on where you are. And so then just figuring out storage for those paper charts. It'll be amazing once you don't have all those shelves of those paper charts, how much space you create.
Yeah, I agree. Talk about efficiency, right? Hated running into those things. I feel like I always ran into those dang things because I cut corners, I like to try to be as fast as I possibly can. So it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I love that. So one thing that I see practices do, they'll purchase those offices and they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's just paper charts everywhere." And they're like, "Grab a pile, scan a pile." And I'm like, "Okay, but what if 8 of those 10 patients you just picked up never come into this practice again?" We don't want that, obviously, right? But like, who even knows when the last time they were here was? So who's to say that they're coming back? So Number one, like Dana said, start with your new patients. I think that's brilliant. Do not make them a paper chart. And for your team that's used to the paper charts, like this is how we transition over. And then as your patients come through your practice, scan those patients. And then at the end of the year, because now they've had at least 2 recalls, we would hope, right? So now at the end of the year, number one, you got an awesome reactivation list sitting up there on those file cabinets of patients who never came in this year. And then number two, you probably don't need to scan these anymore. Like we can put these on the side. We can pull them if they come in, but these are the patients that didn't come in, and we got through all of the patients who did. So let's put these in maybe the back closet in the back or whatever, where we can get them out of the way and get the front office some more space back. So I would say going paperless, you guys, is huge. I think everybody knows that. I don't need to like rant on about that, but it is something that does need to be talked about, which you may have felt before this podcast was a little crazy. And I hope listening to this, you can see why it needs to be talked about. And I think if you're in a practice, there's that you're not something that you're not paperless yet with. There is something. There's sticky notes all over a desk, right? Did you know that every computer has a sticky note option? Like there's literally an app that's called Sticky Notes or Notes if you're a Mac. Like you can put those things on your computer. So you can even go paperless there. You can set reminders on them to pop up on your screen. Like you can do so many things with the computer. You can send them to other people. Regardless, there's something in your world that can go paperless. So your action items from today is I want you to look at that and look at that hard. Do you have all of your consent forms on there? Do you have your health history and your update, your financial policy separate from your new patient paperwork so that you can update that with patients yearly, your HIPAA forms separate so that you can update those yearly? Like, do you have all of those parts and pieces? Are you doing treatment plans that way? What in your world can you make paperless now? And set a date, right? And if you've got charts, set a date for when you're going to be done with those charts. Set a date for when you're like going to use Dana's awesome tip there of like every new patient, right? And then let's start scanning those. So figure out what you can make paperless and then learn to utilize your system best. And you guys, if you have that third-party system that you're using, figure out how they're doing it because they have streamlined it the best, and I've seen the best success for that. So figure out what you can make paperless today, use your system correctly, and learn more so that it doesn't feel so daunting. And you guys just freaking do it. Just GSD, just do it. Dana, what action item do you think I missed?
Amen. No, I think that's it. I think, look at what you currently have that's maybe paperless. Yeah. How can you up your game, right? Because you can pretty much streamline anything now to be not paperless, even if it is with your team, right? Like even if it's those pieces that you can update. I think figure that out. And then I like you, just GSD, set that date and do it.
Just do it. I love it. Okay. Dana, have you seen a practice successfully do this?
Yes.
How many?
Oh my gosh. I mean, in the last year, I've probably at least even just switching the billing portion, right? Those text to pay or those pay links, I've probably at least had a dozen offices.
That's
and
amazing.
It's so funny that when they do it, I always hear, we should have done this sooner. Like this,
every time.
Yeah. Every single time.
Every time. I love it. And you guys, we work with practices all the time doing this. Like Dana just told you, she has at least 12 this year that have even just the billing portion, and it streamlines everything. It makes it faster. And it's not just for you guys. I think the piece that we miss in this puzzle is that it's also for your patients. It's faster for your patients. They appreciate it, especially the text to pay. I don't want to leave you with a bill, but I'm the person that you send it to my mailbox. One, you're going to be lucky if I check my mailbox 2 to 3 times a month. A month, you guys. Nothing comes to my mailbox that I want. So it's not going to be seen. And then you're going to be calling me upset because I've got a 90-day past due bill that I had no idea I had. I'm that patient. I'm telling you. Text me a link and I'm like, oh, great. Paid. Done. Email me the receipt. Done. So pick what it is. Figure out what it is. Use your systems correctly. Reach out to us if you need help. And if you're that new practice that just purchased a billion paper charts and you're in over your head, or maybe you're a doctor who's considering buying charts from a dentist who's selling, right? He's not selling the practice, but he's selling his patients. He's selling the patient charts. And you're like, what is this going to look like, guys? We've got podcasts for that too. We've got dentists who have helped, who have done that before, doctors who have been through that transition that have done a few podcasts with us, and we can help you through all of those aspects. So whatever it is, reach out to us, hello@thedentalateam.com. We are always here to help you. And like we said, Dana, just GSD, just get it done. Okay, that stuff is easy to do if you make it easy. And remember, life is only hard if you want it to be. If you want it to be easy, choose easy and just get the stuff done. Thanks, guys.
And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental A Team podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.